Just over a year ago, Minecraft introduced the Happy Ghast, and while it has some cool use cases, it also has some massive flaws, biggest of them being it's painfully slow. And I hate seeing a mob with this much potential end up getting ignored. So to make them more viable, I want to code, yes code, my very first data pack to make Happy Ghasts faster. But before we get into making an entire data pack, I want to build. Which brings me on to the second problem with Happy Ghasts. They are so hard to use properly without any elytra and just float around out of reach. Where looking from an overview of my world, I've decided on 3 spots where I'd like to create a Happy Ghast port. And the first of these locations that I want to focus on is the one right here in the middle of everything next to our monastery, where I think I want to put a little building in over here, as this area is really undetailed and there is a little gap right here where we can probably bring in the port itself. Where if we just remove the hotbar and hop into fresco, we can get a little bit of an idea here with that port down below and then a bit more of a regular house up above. With a plan for this building, let's fly up to the starter base and begin some material gathering by first having a look through my storage to see what I have. Which was quite a lot of wood bits, but I need to do a bit of stripping. Additionally, I've run out of spruce logs, so heading behind my starter base where I've got a line of them ready to be chopped down. With that in chalk boxes, I'm flying south towards my quarry. I'm first gonna head into the middle storage, which has the widest selection of blocks, and see what we can put together from here. Grab the few deep set bricks, and I need a lot of tough bricks, but I don't really want to spend my tough on that, as I have another idea on how we could get our hands on some. First off, I need to have a look through that third level of the storage and see if we also need some stone bits. I know we need a little bit of stone at least. Back at the starter base with these shock boxes, we'll get those dropped off. And let's grab ourselves another. Now for that tough brick, I'm going to have to swap my wings out for a horse, as I recently introduced a rule in my world that I'm only allowed to use an elytra to fly between places I've already built paths to. And this random trial chamber definitely doesn't have a path, but it does have a ton of tough bricks ripe for the taking. And, well, tough bricks I got, and a lot of other goodies, especially all of the copper, as I'm running pretty low on that. And I honestly should just buy more shulker boxes. I think I'm going to keep clearing this out, as, yeah, this is definitely going to save me so much time being able to gather tough bricks this way. Returning to the surface and starter base, leaving Rumble in the stables, dropping some resources off, and heading down to the copper aging factory to grab a few oxidized bits and fill in a bunch of missing blocks with our newly gathered copper. We're a little bit more crafting and a few more blocks gathered. We've got all the blocks we should need for our first Happy Ghast port. After getting the shulkers down, let's throw ourselves straight into it and get a bit of space cleared away for the port itself. For the little chamber to hold it, I'm thinking a lot of tough. Mossy stone bricks probably wouldn't hurt. And I also started myself a little redstone box, and you'll see why in just a second. We're taking this tough. Most of this is going to be blocked most of the time by our little Happy Ghast, so we'll just grab a little bit of regular tough in there, but mostly using the bricks. Bringing a couple of walls up. In the little outside corner here is where we can start bringing in a little better texturing with some mossy and deep slate. Starting to create that little arch that I want for the ghast, which we can complete up with just a little slab so that I fit through without hitting my head. Bit more brick thrown in, and I think we're ready to test the chamber out, where I have my one Happy Ghast in this world right over here. And well, let's introduce the first change that I'm making to them. I'm making them quiet. Their sound range is so high, and whenever I try to use them for building, it always just messes up the time lapse because it picks up the ghast audio, and that's really unfortunate because I really like the fact that some time lapses have audio. And yeah, we definitely have to get on making them faster. But that requires coding, and yeah, I'm not a coder, so we'll see how that works out. 1,000 years later, finally arriving, where this guy should be able to slide out right in here. We can add in these two to hold it from not going up, and then we should be able to add these out here, and he should be stuck. If we now get our redstone box out, I want to activate this via redstone. I don't really know. There's not really a massive reason for me to do this. I could literally just have a gate, but but I just did like the idea of it, where we'll just get a little bit of polished deep slate here to run some redstone on top of that. Bring in the lever right there. We hop on the ghast, we hit the lever, and we hit the lever, and we can fly on and out. Yeah, perfect. And then returning back. That is working great. I've really got to get to doing some more redstone on my own in this world. It was really, really fun doing that in the beginning. With the functional bit sorted, let's add in the rest of the foundation, so that we can start to bring up some walls where I'd really like to mix a few different palettes, starting with a very bland and boring stone texture, pairing that up with a mostly birch palette with some sandstone thrown in for highlights, utilizing weathered copper trapdoors for a pop of color. Now, just these two sections isn't all of the palettes I want, as I also want to go a little crazy here with some blue. And I tried my best to convey it in the sketch, but I want a little bit of an outcropping here that sticks up for a small little second floor, where we're going to utilize a bunch of cyan concrete powder together with logs, cyan wool, filling up an entire wall. We use a temporary block right there to get the top side of the log sticking out. We're going to start throwing in some warped signs, a few additional ones along here, where I've got a little bit of glow lichen with me as well, just to blend this out a little bit, make it slightly blander. And it was just night a second ago, which was very, very dark, and I figured you'd want to be able to find your way back home, so I just want to add in a little lantern here to guide the Happy Ghast in. And additionally, I think we can add in a second one over on this end. If I'm back over here to the bridge, I definitely like that, but it definitely needs our roof to tie it all together, where I think the perfect color for this is going to be a reddish brown, using granite as a base, texturing that with mud brick and jungle, as well as throwing in some musty stones for a bit of age. Quite an interesting shape here as well that we've got, and shape is something I want to add a bit more to it, where we can just bring in some iron bars here across the top and some candles on top of those, where right over here we can also get a little weather vane added in, which is looking good. Fixing the gap up with a chimney coming out of our foundation. Where I am definitely happy with how this is looking, but I think it's time for a bit of lore. And the first thing I'd like to introduce is a thing from the past, where we're gonna add a little staircase right here. We can add a flower pot and a couple of red candles. We're way back in a world, I think 2 years ago now, I started making up some lore around colors, where the people of the world would worship different colors to bring luck to them or others, and depending on which colors you were worshipping to, you get different luck. And red was wishing luck to warriors, and I kind of want these ghast boards to be connected to the defenders of the city, where the Happy Ghast can be used as a scout to scout for incoming enemies or just see what's going on. Adding on to the lore of this building, I'm flattening out the terrain a bit so that we can bring in a pasture to create a place for guards to lead their horses while here, which is looking good. And I've cleaned up the inside a little bit, but if we just close this door, where we now have a little interior as well. Some snow to feed the ghast, a little upstairs area with a little bench to take some notes, got a little sleeping quarters here as well in the corner, and I think it's looking pretty good. But I still think the outside could use some additional detail. Starting off with a bit of ground foliage, as it's extremely barren at the moment. I also feel like this side is a bit flat, so let's give them a bit of extra storage with a small shed out of some spruce and jungle. And how about a bit of extra foliage, as we definitely need a custom tree in the area, just like my channel needs your sub. I recently hit 100k and I'm still beyond words to describe that feeling. I'm also not stopping, so why not join me for the future? Where the final little thing I want to add in here is not that. No, this little chain with a lantern to light up the path, which completes the first out of 3 Happy Ghast boards. And while we're in this area, I actually want to take the opportunity to revisit the terrain, where recently I built this mountain in the distance with a very nice blue tent. And even though I'm not going to redo all of the texturing, I'd really like to add in some blue terracotta to this texturing as well. And I shouldn't need too much. So hopefully I have... No. Oh, okay, good. Where we've got a stack of light blue dye ready so that we can get a few more light blue terracotta. Where I'm just going to run/fly through all of the cliffs, replacing some stone, andesite, and gravel with our light blue terracotta to give it that nice blue tint. Which, yeah, I really like that. Got more clips to add this to in the future, but for now, I'm definitely happy with the expansion of blue. Now, I really have no idea how to code, but I have a pretty good understanding of some of the Minecraft commands. Anyhow, to make this even somewhat feasible, I've divided this into steps. Step 1, make a data pack. Step 2, figure out how to speed Ghasts up. Step 3, make the data pack speed the Ghasts up. Step 4, make the Ghasts only faster when being ridden. On to step 1 then, where I used a video from Quacklib, which I'll have linked in the description, downloaded VS Code and installed an extension called Datapack Helper Plus. From there, I just followed the steps to create the data pack. Which is probably the easiest part of... why am I Steve? Probably the easiest part of the project done, so on to step 2, making the Happy Ghasts faster. Because currently... yeah, their default speed. Now, scouring the Minecraft wiki, I think what I'm going to need to do is edit the entity data of the Happy Ghast itself. And I think attributes is where we're going to want to go with this. So if we hop into Minecraft and we just do /attributes, we will target this Happy Ghast. Oh yeah, this is exactly what we want. Movement speed would be... oh, flying speed. And we can do get, and that is 0.05. Okay, and when we do that command again, base... set 0.1. We do the original command. That's now 0.1. And it's faster. Right. All right. Maybe this was the easiest part then. But if we spawn a new one, yeah, that one's slow. All right. Back into the code where instead of making Ghast fast, I just wanted to run a say command, which I did get working. Replacing that command with this set to run a second function, which basically I place a custom tag to the entity along with speeding it up. Wait, it worked. What? It's zooming. 0.1. It's still zooming. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Back in the world as I need a break from bashing my head against my keyboard. Starting off another material gathering session down by the quarry. I've also ran out of wheat, so getting my 2 fields harvested to stock back up. Out of a few resources that I can find by making my way down south. First off, a bunch of coral where instead of going for exactly the types I need, I'm just clearing it out. On the opposite side of this bay, there is a mangrove swamp, which of course has mangrove, where I need over 30 stacks of strip logs. Having returned back home, I need to head the opposite direction, northeast, but switching into the nether and getting a portal built up. To plop me out in the payload forest, where I need to wait for nighttime, so might as well make myself useful and chop a couple of payload trees. Where now that it's night, we have to... find a creaking. I don't like this part. Alright, this is a lot scarier on lower brightness. Is that one? Oh, that is one. Oh, there's 2. Ah! Hey, guys. Ah, stop it. Ah! Ouch. Okay. Ah! I'm in a cave. It's time to go. I want to go. I want to get out of here. This is actually a little creepy. And before returning home, I need one final thing. A wither skeleton skull. For detailing, of course, which luckily didn't take me too long. And these resources are for the gas port down in the city. Which will become the 3rd house inside of the city, but first I've got to clear out a bit of space. Where I haven't made a sketch for this one, but I found this inspo picture right here. And I was especially a fan of how the white bit had these gray lines and shadows across it, where I've got a couple of gray blocks and a couple of white blocks, where we can start using our gray blocks off to the right hand side, starting the foundation off. Switching over to the more white palette with a harsh line cutting through, where I've also thrown in some light blue terracotta for the hint of blue. Which I think is looking good. We are transitioning back into that gray over on this side where I want a little staircase running up for the main entrance. This little arch here in the center, I want to build on the idea we introduced earlier with the colors, where I want to create a little mural using some glazed terracotta. If I can figure out how to place these. Then just want to bring in a little bit more diorite, some walls, and a couple of detailing bits where I just want to throw in a little bit of resin in there for a little bit of orange, and then a couple couple of candles, some crimson roots, and we have another little one of these colorful murals for where you can wish the warriors luck. Now I want a bit more of this texturing to fill in this gap I've got in the middle where that gray-white transition becomes a bit clearer. But it is very barren, so let's throw in some windows, a bit of detailing, and why not some signs and buttons? Which I really like how this is coming together. But we do have this little ugly gap here on the side, which I want to start fixing up. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, I want this to be the stairs leading up to the entrance, which will go in this little gap. Come down here, bring in a little bit of this. And I think eventually I want to bring in 2 more buildings, or maybe even 3 buildings in this area here. So this is going to become a little bit of an alley. So this will probably be brought down in the future into an area for maybe a basement access into this building. Not really sure exactly, but I do really want to make this corner of the city just a little guards area where there's going to be some bunk beds. There's going to be like a kitchen, some training grounds maybe down over in this little grassy region down here, and obviously easy access to both the gatehouse and the Happy Ghast port. Now from this, we're gonna have to start thinking about where we're actually gonna bring in the Happy Ghast here, which obviously can't happen in this floor, so it'll happen above this, where I want to go out another block, adding in even more shape to this already pretty complicated building. Plan being a dark oak trim, which I probably should have had blocks to texture, but I don't. Then this here can be the actual opening itself, where we can bring in some dark oak trapdoors. Temporary block, we can bring in a stair, and I didn't bring any planks. Plank, slab, and back down over here, where that should be a gap big enough to, yeah, definitely find a Happy Ghast. To complement the dark oak, I want to use that mangrove I gathered for the walls, utilizing the top of the logs to transition into the darker netherrack blocks. Then I actually want an interior for this building as well. I know, crazy, 2 interiors in one video. Anyhow, I've got a floor built in, and now I'm running up and getting the interior walls built up, or well, some of them. And yeah, it's looking a little weird, and I have a weird urge to use Buddy Mangrove roots for a part of this build, where alongside it, we're going to be using some soul sand, soil, and even a little bit of jungle. And a little window, a little shutter on the outside of that, and then a couple of jungle signs here on the bottom. And with the chance of this being very boring from the side, I don't really plan to detail this side right now. This will probably be dug away, but I can't say that for sure. So for now, I'm just gonna be bringing it up, leaving it undetailed, and the same for the bottom down here. And whenever we're working in this area next, we'll probably come up back and detail that. Repairing a few more of the holes in the build, and it's looking all right now. But I think it will look a lot better if we throw in a roof, where since we have red walls, I can't go with the classic red city wall roofs. Instead, a deep slate tiles to mossy cobblestone. And well, I thought the roots were my last palette, but you know what? Why not another splash of color with a bit of cherry, white terracotta, and mushroom stems to finish off these gaps. I also want quick access from the city walls down into the building, so adding a little catwalk to bridge that gap. And then I've got an interior that I started designing, but one of my moderators picked it up and finished it off. Which leads to it being done. We're coming inside here. The cheeky wither skeleton skull that he put in there. We got the actual Happy Ghast port. This is a much bigger one with the Happy Ghast eventually going to be sitting in here. And oh, wait, there's another little thing of this I want to add. Since the Happy Ghast eats snow, if we grab some snow blocks and pumpkin, should also have an extra spruce fence and light gray glass, which was already in my inventory. I just couldn't see it. Where I figured out a little snow farm in the last episode, and I figured this would be a pretty good place to have that a little bit more permanently rather than the side of the mountain where it currently is. And this now works as a little snow farm. Perfect. And well, we gotta get some new Happy Ghasts because, well, my only Happy Ghast in this world is in the other ports. And since I still don't quite get why you can craft these, I've popped into the nether to grab 2 dried Ghasts. And I wonder, could I just set this up here in the water? Surely they don't drown, right? And to get us back on the right page, we are on step 4 of our data pack, making Happy Ghasts only faster when frozen. And well, most of this was me trying things with the code, scouring the Minecraft wiki, great website by the way, but even with that coming up short. The issue I kept running into was I could not for the life of me figure out how to track if the Happy Ghast had a passenger or not. So I started investigating the MBT data of the Happy Ghast and still came up empty. 1 eternity later. And I was about to give up when Foxy messaged me. Okay, I've just talked to Foxy and I think that could work. Right, 1 Happy Ghast in the world. Let's check. It has a base flying speed of 0.05. We hop on. Yeah, that's not changed. Nah, it's not done anything. Okay, additionally, Foxy suggested we leave the passengers one empty, still 0.05. Okay, so while Foxy's idea didn't quite pan out, it has given me some more motivation, and something that kept popping up is root vehicle, a part of players' MBT data while riding a mob. I should then be able to execute a command on said vehicle. If we run this if data entity at s root vehicle run execute on vehicle run say I am flying. Oh! Yes! If I then do execute as at a unless data entity, basically we copy this entire thing here, say I am not flying. It should now spam chat with I am not flying. It doesn't. It does say I am flying. It doesn't say I'm not flying though. Oh, okay, there we go. I am not flying. I am flying. I'm not flying. I am flying. I'm not flying. I am flying. Okay, so then we just replace function Happy Ghast boost and run run function Happy Ghast reset. If I'm not flying, we go fast. Okay, wait. Okay, attribute get flying speed is 0.1. Let's hop off. Crap. Okay, it doesn't reset. Why doesn't it reset? Oh, because it's running it on me, isn't it? Right. Okay. No, I wasn't recording. It works. No. I made a data pack though. It's slow. We jump on. It goes fast. We jump off. It's back to normal. Yes! Oh, I'm so happy with myself. Okay. There's probably a lot of tick spam, but maybe I'll look at that in the future. I don't know. We're back inside of the world. Yeah, I obviously wasn't AFK here. Still waiting for one of the Happy Ghasts to dry. And no, it took me way longer than it takes Happy Ghasts to be hydrated to figure out the final bits of the data pack. But it works. I just had to be in another world to test it all. For now, though, we've got to go and get a couple of harnesses, which, if I remember correctly, is just a few bits of leather, wool for color, and glass. Obviously, they are still small as well, so let's head into the gas port. We can throw this down and get ourselves a couple of snowballs. Throw on down here. Let's see if we can extract. Come here, buddy. Yeah, go this way. Yeah. You want to become big? Hungry fella, huh? Oh, there we go. Oh, no, come back here. Oh, this is another problem, which I have no idea how I'd fix. They just keep flying away from you. But it is faster. And just to make sure that the data pack works on here, that is back to regular speed. Oh, amazing. Oh, I still can't believe that I made a data pack myself. Oh, this is so much nicer, though. If we fly on in here, turn around, put those down, we have our little friend trapped. If I now head down this way. Oh, that's looking so good. Okay, I had to bring it down the pathway just a little more because it was looking a little rough without it. But even if we're on the ground now, we should just be able to run in here and hop right up onto it, unlock this lever, and fly on out into the world. Oh, I love it. Well, that's our second Happy Ghast port done. For our third and final gas port, I'm heading west, where I've got a lot of unfinished terrain, both around the mountain, my path, and fishing village. So why not use this as an excuse to fix all of this up, or, well, mostly. First, getting a beacon set up inside of a cave in the middle of everything, where I think there might be more blocks to clear for this small rolling hill than there was for the entire mountain just east of here, where my initial focus is on removing the harsh terrain right next to our snaking path. With that done, I'm moving over towards the fishing village and starting to clear out blocks down towards the ocean. Where this is the biggest section of today's terrain, as I want to transition into the fishing village terrain, which also means it's one of the bigger digs. Probably less blocks than by the path, but took longer since it's only a single layer and not big chunks. But after an hour and a half, we've got it all cleared out. Still a bit more digging to do right over here, as I want the river to snake its way down to this river as well. But before we get to that, I really want to do some building, and I have a ton of grass and dirt here left over from the digging, which we can utilize to start smoothing out the terrain. First here by the floating path, building up the area between that and the river running down into the ocean. Ran out of grass, so switching to dirt, I'm also connecting down some of the bits of the mountain down to the stream. I've not textured this area yet in my creative plan, so we'll be leaving it with gaps for the time being. An area I want to finish is this hill, which requires a bit more dirt. And already, this is looking a lot better with just our dirt in. But there is still a ton of rock faces missing, considering I haven't even touched those resources yet. Again, starting off by the path, working my way towards the village, where I went through how I did this exact texturing in my last video, which I'll leave linked. The premise is quite simple though, adding in darker patches where shadows gather and highlights where light gathers. Canyon side complete, let's fix up this final little area, which will also be where our Happy Ghast port is located. Which, unlike the previous ports, will be in a little cave. And yeah, a big reason for why I wanted a gas port over here is I wanted an excuse to do the terraforming. But it probably won't hurt to have one out this far, because if I have to travel anyway this direction, I can just fly out here and then I can hop on the Ghast, which does actually need a home, so I need to bring out a few blocks so that we can build up a floor, bringing up a few walls around that. And we can think about how to get this locked in, where I'm just thinking a sticky piston on either side here. I know I theoretically don't need to. It just feels better having to. There's no real reason behind it. Anything to connect all of this? I should just be able to run redstone above here. At least one of those, and both activate. Got the walls extended up a little more and a roof on. We'll throw in a little lantern, and you could have a little supply of snow here in the back corner. Definitely living the worst out of all that because we have so far, but it's fine. It's a little cave. It's better. It's better than not detailed, right? And well, before we bring a Happy Ghast over here, I think we should wrap all of this up. As if he's gonna be stuck in that little box, at least the journey over here can be pretty, right? Yeah, I'm gonna justify it like that. Where I think the first thing we should look at doing is finalizing the base terraforming, where I'm gonna need just a bunch of mud, coarse dirt, and muddy mangrove roots, so that we finally can continue the river down towards the ocean and fishing village. Where seeing this sloping down, I'm so glad I went with this instead of flat terrain with a waterfall at the end. Slight little problem, I have this alternate path which currently has a lot of terrain in the way. And it's unfortunately out of beacon range, so back in the cave, I'm reclaiming my beacon and rebuilding it just below the path, so that I can break the path. Well, obviously with the stream running below, we are going to need a bridge instead of a path, which means it has to go for now as I clear away this hefty chunk of rock. With it gone though, I can complete up this side of the river, which means I can start with the water as one of the final base pieces of this terraforming. It's going to be so fun seeing the blue water cascade down all the way from the mountain to the ocean. And what will make that look even nicer is if I actually finish up all of the little bits of rock. Just walking down into this area now, oh, it feels so good. Don't mind this side, just look this way. And well, the fact that we have a missing bridge, we should probably fix that. And well, we need a lot of foliage, but the bridge sounds more fun and less tedious. I've just done a lot of tedious work doing all of this terraforming. And I want to go quite simple in this with a simple stone bridge with a few details. Okay, I say simple, but I've started making a shape here that's going to become a both sloping upwards and diagonal bridge. I don't know why I keep making bridges like this. I must hate myself or something. Yeah, no evidence to say that I don't. For the walls of this, though, I really want to use some coal ore, as I have a ton of this, where our pavements and tough are obviously going to be our darker blocks in here. Then we're going to transition into coal ore to move ourselves into the stone, with some andesite here for a couple bits of highlights. Focus being a lot more of our darker blocks here towards the bottom, just to help lift the eye upwards. With the other wall built up, let's get the underside built up using our darker blocks and deep slate, where even with the complicated shape, I think this is looking pretty good. Next up, moving on to some of our details, which is why I've got all of this copper and some of this chisel tuff, and of course our lodestones. Because if you're new around here, it really wouldn't be a stand bridge without a lodestone. Or two. A bit that started when the lodestone costed netherite, so it's not really as fun anymore, but still gotta include one in every bridge I make. Brought in a little walkway as well so that we can actually get across our bridge. And there is one final detail where we're gonna bring in our copper, and I also want some lanterns, where I have an idea if we do something like this, creating a little capsule right there, and then we hang a lantern inside of that. I just really want them to be covered in something. I don't know if this was the best solution though, but it definitely works. Then creating our railing here, we're gonna use some stairs to come on down, bring it back up on the opposite side just like that, and I think that's a bridge. No, that is a bridge. And even though it's very rainy, I think that looks pretty good. Flag under, and the bottom. Yeah, I'm a big fan. With our bridge done, if we look further upstream, we have so much more detail. So before we bring our Happy Ghasts, that's what we got to fix down here. Starting off with the river foliage, mainly seagrass, but a bunch of crops, strip leaf and sugarcane spread out across the banks. Which by itself still looks quite barren, so of course I've got to cover all the open areas with other foliage like grass, bushes, birch leaves and fireflies. Which took quite a while, but if we look back at how this area looked at the start of this project and how it looks now, it's night and day. And I've flown back over to the lake and grabbed the third Happy Ghast, and wow, this is just so much nicer moving around the world at this speed rather than the speed we had before. It's actually a viable option for transport. Elytra's still faster, but considering the fact that I can't move outside of my path area with an elytra, this is going to be very handy. And as the build we've just done comes into view, gotta do some cleaning up, but it's looking so good. I don't mind that, and it's fine. Look at the things I have done. Yeah. Anything else? Pulling up over here, we can get this guy in and pull the lever to keep him stuck, and we have our third Happy Ghast garage all done, which means that we are done with today's project, as I currently don't have any more spots in my world which need a Happy Ghast. As I build more and more in this world and expand further out, I'll definitely be building more and more of these ports. But for now, I'm really happy with the 3 that we have, and well, hopefully them being easily accessible and not flying around in the background all the time. It means that I'll actually use them, and you know, the fact that they are actually fast now and not terribly slow. Who knows? We'll see. But like always, thank you to all of my supporters, and thank you to you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.